Hey guys, I hope you guys are enjoying the series so far where we talk about the different types of anxiety. In the previous video, we talked a lot about social anxiety, and in this video, we're going to talk about workplace anxiety. And in the preceding videos, we're going to discuss a little bit about different types of relationship anxiety. So, first and foremost, relationship anxiety. Whenever we're experiencing anxiety that specifically tends to be triggered in the workplace the most, or we have a lot of anxiety associated with work, it's because we actually first tend to have a series of stored subconscious beliefs about ourselves that the workplace is actually triggering. So I want you to think about this for just a moment. For the vast majority of the time, it isn't actually the workplace causing your anxiety. It is your thinking about your workplace. So think about that. I'm going to repeat it for a moment because I really want it to sink in, and this puts the power back in your hands to control your anxiety, your thinking, your feeling accordingly, right? So it's, for the vast majority of the time, it is not the actual specific workplace causing you anxiety. It is your thinking or your thoughts about the workplace. This is why, for example, we can have two different people who work in the same place, maybe in the same role, and generally have a lot of similarities throughout their day, but one person experiences a lot of anxiety and another person may just feel kind of neutral or disinterested or bored or inspired even, right? So this is also why, even if we have like a not so great workplace in general and the environment isn't that great, it's tolerable for some people and not tolerable at all for others. It's because even though it's all the same workplace, we are having different thinking and different core beliefs activated. And remember, it's your thinking and your beliefs that produce those emotional responses. So if you're having more painful thoughts, more thoughts in resistance to the workplace, your anxiety is going to go up accordingly. So I want you to, I'll help you for a second to isolate the very specific core patterns I, as a practitioner, tend to see happen the most in the workplace around anxiety. These are core belief patterns and thought patterns related to I am not good enough, I am a failure, or I will fail eventually, I will get fired, I will be judged or rejected, something's wrong with me and people are going to find out, I'm not far enough ahead, I should be further ahead in my career, I'm running out of time, or people don't like me. And if we have any core beliefs like that in our mind because of previously stored experiences we've subconsciously accumulated from childhood, you had some kind of painful experience where you failed at something in childhood and now you've held on to that core belief, I will fail. As soon as you go into a workplace that's high pressure or that could trigger the potential of failure or where you don't feel like you have a firm control over things, all of a sudden that belief pattern is going to be on fire. It's going to literally catch and it's going to create all of these negative thought patterns, and your mind is going to start ruminating like crazy, trying to avoid the potential of failure, worrying about what if there's failure, and your mind will spend a lot of its energy and really honestly lose a lot of its energy thinking about the potential of failure or whatever other core belief you are surfacing because of painful experiences that you have in the past. So you need to know your subconscious mind stores all beliefs from past negative experiences, and unless they are consciously reprogrammed or unless some kind of crazy circumstance happens, which is very rare, that equilibrates that belief, you're basically waiting to relive those painful programs at some point in your life, and your workplace might be triggering those beliefs to come to the surface and thus producing a heightened anxiety response, okay? So I want you to imagine as well, you can think of like some people who work in the most stressful environments in the world, like let's say on Wall Street or as a surgeon in the ER, and for some of them, they handle it okay. And for others, it can be really, really challenging. And that difference has a lot to do with our thinking. Okay. And again, I'm telling you this because this puts the ball back in your court. This allows the power to be back in your hands. I'm going to tell you some steps for what to do about this, okay? Number one, you want to start by monitoring your thoughts for the day. Wherever you're having workplace anxiety, start monitoring, okay? What is triggering it? Is it when I have due dates and deadlines coming up? Is it when somebody makes a comment to me where I feel like it's a judgment or a criticism? Is it where somebody says something to me and I feel like they don't like me or I feel like I'm not accepted? Is it where I feel like I'm being critiqued and I may not be good enough? So start noticing the patterns that you're finding that tend to create even bigger spikes or peaks in your anxiety. This is very important information. It's telling you something. Now, once you understand what it is, like, is it about the time? Is it about not enough validation, not being good enough? Now I want you to, in that journal or on that piece of paper, try to create cognitive reframes for these thoughts and try to start catching them the next day when they pop up. So for example, imagine you could watch your mind in slow motion thinking all day long. And what I want you to notice about this is that when this is happening, everything is either a downward spiral or an upward spiral. Let's say, for example, you have this thought, I'm running behind. That might lead to a thought that goes, and I'll be judged, and I won't be good enough. People will reject me. I'll lose my job, and then I'll be homeless. And notice how the more negative thoughts start, the more quickly they pick up pace and the stronger they become. So these thoughts, when you're thinking these thoughts, I want you to notice that these thoughts move you towards what you're fearing, not away from it. Whatever you're fearing, you're basically distracting yourself from being able to do your work, from being able to come up with a healthier solution or a strategy if you're falling behind, because you're giving your emotional and thought energy, your mental and emotional energy, to these worst case scenario fears, and you're basically traumatizing your brain a little bit because your brain can't really tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So if you're like running behind and suddenly you're thinking about being homeless, your brain's going through a lot of wasted energy, and all of that stuff is taking up real estate in your brain. Okay, so you want to practice creating reframes and finding a strategy to focus on moving through whatever the problem is at hand. So let's say, for example, I'm behind, I'll be judged. You might reframe this and go, everyone falls behind sometimes. This is normal. And then you come up with a solution. I can ask for an extension. I can explain the situation. I can try to delegate or ask for help and support. So you're shifting and breaking that pattern of falling down that rabbit hole in a negative spiral. And what you'll see is the more relief you get from reframing your thoughts and creating solutions to the problem instead of just feeding this running sort of hamster wheel of scary thoughts, the more relief you find, the more that tends to create a positive upward spiral where things become clearer and you feel better and you can think in a healthier way and you can come up with better, more clear strategies and solutions to solve problems, okay? So another one might be, I won't be good enough. Ask yourself, if I'm not good enough at something, what can I learn from this? How can I manage my time more effectively in the future or learn better so I can excel more? What can I take away from any potential failure? Okay, so the idea is to reframe and create a solution or a strategy, whatever it is that's related to workplace anxiety. Okay, now lastly, I want you to notice the impact of your thinking. It might take you 5 to 10 seconds to reframe and create a strategy if you practice it, and especially if you get good at it over time, versus you can end up in a rabbit hole of negative thoughts that takes up so much real estate in your mind for maybe 3 hours of your workday, maybe your entire workday, maybe for 3 days straight. So take the time to do this. It's valuable and it pulls you out. It breaks that pattern of just running on autopilot with negative thoughts where you're giving your energy to nothing. You can break that pattern, and this is a great place to start. So stay tuned in the next part of the series, where I'm going to talk to you about relationship anxiety, the core patterns I notice, the different types of relationship anxiety, and how to move through it effectively.